projects, the sidewalk replacement project during the 2015 DOT bids. We had, this time on the sidewalk bids, we had 3 bidders. Project came down about 10%. And it's 10% below what the bid was last time, so it was good that we went out for bid again. And the bids on the engineering project, on the road project, we have a range from $296,000 to $390,000. The low bid is almost $60,000 below the second low bid. So I would recommend we award both contracts. I understand we have some bonding issues that have to be addressed.
Okay, so bonding, so this ordinance, 1515, encompasses these 2 projects, the 2015 DOT project and the sidewalk repair, tree removal, and planting project. That was part of the 2015 Union County Infrastructure Grant, which they did give us their $30,000 that they offered us for the tree removal, which we did last year. We ended up spending $39,350 on tree removal. The bond also consists of planting trees with a $2,500 tree grant matching $2,500. So with the soft costs and other costs, the total amount, if you're going to award these jobs, is $4,058. And Don and I are going to recommend that you bond $460. So that means you have to amend it and increase it $65,000. And also, I think I'm going to have to ask for an extension on the sidewalk, because we talked to the auditors, you can award one of these jobs, but you can't award both of them. You have to fix the bond first. So I wanted to award the sidewalks first because those people have been waiting and they're really calling me and they're antsy. However, Donald put a clause in the bid that the bidder has to finish the road work before school starts.
Well, because we're doing 3rd Avenue in this block that the school's in, we stipulated that they have to do the job in July and August. If we hold off the awarding that job and award the sidewalk job, we're not going to be able to award and get a contract going until actually July or early August, which isn't going to give us time to get that project finished.
But we can award, next council meeting, we can award the DOT. I can ask for an extension on the sidewalk. And you got to amend the bond, and then I can award the sidewalk. Those are your options, or you can reject the sidewalk, and I think that's a problem, but you don't have enough money in this bond to do everything.
I think you have to do it the way that you just said it. I think you have to move forward with the road project first, and then we can also go back to the sidewalk. But I feel that's all that would have to be done. The sidewalk's been waiting a long time.
Sidewalk right a long time. A lot of people call me up and they're a little upset with the delay. I said, we did it so many times, and it was, they're understanding, but I think, enough is enough of it.
We also put, because the sidewalk, the trees had to come down first, we put the sidewalk as secondary to that. But we left the restitution, putting the lawn areas and all that back until the sidewalk was done. So of course the trees were taken down last year, and now it's going to be almost a year by the time this restoration work gets done. It's silly. It was silly to do the work and then come back and tear it up again when we do the sidewalk. So it will probably be, I would say, July to August before we can start the sidewalk. Just by the time frame we have in going through the bid process, the 20 days. I mean, not the bid process, the ordinance process, the 20 days, signing a contract and proceeding. It's probably going to be mid-July to August 1st before we can start that work.
But just to clarify, as you've outlined, we would be able to get the 3rd Avenue sidewalks done by the school.
The 3rd Avenue project has no sidewalks in it, and none of the tree sidewalks in it. There's sidewalk work in there. 3rd Avenue will be completed by the time school starts.
Okay.
We also have another quote, little problem with this year's DOT project. Not only do we have the school issue on one end of town, we have Little League on the other end. We're doing the entranceway into the Little League field. We're ripping up that drainage that doesn't work in there, and so that little 100-foot block is going to be done, and it's going to be done during baseball season at some point. But baseball's done played at night and on weekends, and the contractor just doesn't, won't be able to work on weekends, and daytime work won't affect it. So we'll get through it. And it's only a, that's probably a week and a half job. It's not a big job.
Just as long as he doesn't park his vehicles in the lot. Hopefully he's not planning on keeping equipment there.
Well, they don't usually keep a lot of equipment, maybe a form truck, and we can have them put that up on spruce, I guess.
Okay.
Or even at the DPW yard, it's only right around the corner.
Okay, either way.
So, I'm sorry.
Any other comments?
So am I directed to amend this bond to, and add additional $65,000?
I would support that. We have to move forward on these two projects.
Any other comments?
Excuse me, I mean, the roads, they always come first because the sidewalk issue seems to be more of a safety issue.
No, the road work this year is kind of holding the front seat because we have to get that work done when the kids are out of school.
Okay.
So if we wait until if we do the sidewalk first and have to wait to award the contract,
Okay.
we're gonna be starting work in August, we're not gonna get the job done by school.
Okay, I just
So
wanted to understand.
we're just
that.
trying to make sure we get in and out of there while school's closed.
Okay.
I mean, this was a project that we bonded last year
Mhm.
for, put these two projects together. We started the sidewalk project by removing the trees, went out for bid, probably about 4 times now, and the bids just kept coming in too high.
I know.
So this is, I don't think you're gonna get any lower than this. In fact, I must say that this bond offers you no contingent should that sidewalk work was done, and I feel
Well, we're gonna have to hold it to the list.
you're gonna have to hold for the list.
The list has been growing. As the job is delayed, the list has grown too. It wasn't anywhere near this high before, but it just keeps growing. But we're gonna have
We
to hold
only
it to that
fix
because we have
sidewalks
nothing.
damaged by boroughs.
We don't have any cushion
For
here.
5 years.
Okay.
And, you know, something that the council
And there is
consider.
the state grant money offsetting this. too,
That's
so
correct.
it's not,
Half of it anyway.
right,
Yeah,
it's not the full 460,000,
no,
getting some of our money back.
yeah, your bond is, I don't know how much the
190?
190? The DOT grant is 215 on this job. And then you had 30,000 from the county, 2,500 from the county. And what's the other one?
Well, it's important stuff that has to be done. It's long overdue.
Yeah, the other thing is, you know, sometime in the future, you may want to change your ordinance that, you know, I mean, it's not fair if a tree damages someone's sidewalk, but some towns don't take responsibility for that. They make the homeowner take care of it.
Well, then the homeowner should have an option whether they want that tree on that sidewalk.
Yeah, we definitely don't plant without permission, like, but these are trees that predate that,
Right.
you know.
So is the council in agreement? Okay, thank you. Please proceed. Anything else, Mr. Goriello?
God's up.
Any
Well,
questions?
Donald, there is one other thing. This is the memo that I sent you guys on March 30th regarding the 2016
Oh, that's
DOT
right.
project. You don't have to make a decision tonight, but the memo is clear, the attachments are to it. You usually bond around this time of year for it, and then Donald starts preparing the specs, and then they gotta go to DOT. What you're working on now, what you just talked about now, you started this time last year.
Okay.
So, I don't wanna let this be forgotten about because that happens, you know. So you have to, in this one you got a $180,000 grant for an estimate of $266,000 project, so I'm recommending a $300,000 bond. Also, you'll find in your packet on Friday that we applied for the 2016 infrastructure grant to repave Center Street. We applied for like $450,000, something like that, half of that is the matching grant. The county's gonna give us 65, so if you wanna use that money, you're gonna have to match that as well. Another 65 you gotta come up with, so. And that has to be completed, done and done by 2016, 12/31/2016, so you can't sit on that. You're gonna have to make a decision about that. I mean, maybe, I don't know if the county would consider it, but if they wanted road work with that, maybe I could write them a letter and ask them if we could put it towards this DOT thing instead of doing Center Street, and you don't have to match any more money. But I don't know if they'll ever do that.
Are there any grants that don't require matching funds?
Very few.
The state, the DOT state one doesn't, but they never give you the full boat of money. You always have to come up with your share of that money. But their one's not matching.
Since you said we don't have to really decide tonight, I think it's worthwhile to ask the county that, at least so it's an option.
Okay.
Then we can discuss it next meeting, if we would rather do that, or if we would prefer to just tackle Center Street.
The only thing is that that would hold up the introduction of the amending this bond. which
Would
is
it?
Yeah, because then I would have to wait till the next council meeting to give you an answer, because I can't communicate with you via email, blah, blah, blah.
But that's a 2016 though.
I know, but I would want to put it toward, that means I don't have to amend this bond.
Oh, right, I gotcha.
And if I have to amend this bond, then I can't wait to talk to you to do it. I gotta get out of it.
Yeah, I
That's a
disagree.
fair point.
I'd rather you didn't ask, because my sense is that the borough's way behind the road work as it is. And I would rather protect that $65,000 and apply it to new road work,
Okay.
be it on Center Street or wherever.
All right, so then when you consider this one memo that I sent you about 2016 DOT, you can consider funding the rest of that, 65,000 in that,
Okay.
with that. And that, you know, that you don't
What
have to decide.
what was the total for Center Street again?
What we applied for?
I think $402,000.
Or something like that.
It's over 400,000.
We asked them for $212,500, so it's double that, because it's a matching grant.
Okay.
And that's what we applied for. You knew we weren't gonna get that, but we did pretty good, I guess, you know,
Okay, double what we got last year.
yeah, yeah. So, we wanted to resurface the whole thing, so we just had to cut it in half or whatever.
Well, we kind of do. We want to get $420,000.
Right, well, that was
But,
going to be my next question,
right.
is the plan really to do the whole?
No, we'll do 3 or 4 blocks. We'll do
Okay.
whatever $130,000 will take us.
Will get us, okay.
This is gonna be strictly mill and pave. It's not gonna be a reconstruction job like we do on other streets, like we've done on other streets.
Mhm.
So Don, what are the streets that are being done this year?
Third is being finished. Remember last year we started the drainage?
Right.
The short block on Willow behind where we stopped the work last time up past the Knights of Columbus and the Myrtle, that short section of Myrtle going into the little field.
Okay.
All that drainage is being ripped out and reconstructed, because you got corrugated metal pipe right on top of the ground. It's collapsed a number of times. It's collapsed right now. The trench drain across the intersection has collapsed again. So we're taking all that out. We'll have standard inlets in there and a regular crown growth going into the park.
Right, and the reason why I'm asking is because we're starting to have a lot of issues on Spruce now too, with the roads starting to fall apart. There's a lot of sub pumps that are pumping out to the water, out to the street, and, the DPW just can't get the filling in those potholes because there's constant water.
So, put that on a list for next year, when we look like next year, switch block of Spruce,
The 100 block?
100 block.
Anyone else? Don, I have a question. We have received a memo from the Department of Transportation. This with safe route to schools. Do we get involved in that?
That's kind of what
Police department, yeah.
And Chief, has it, safe route to school, I forwarded to you, and you're a grants guy, is he gonna do it?
You talking about the email you forwarded to me?
I think it was a paper letter, yeah.
Safe
Yeah.
routes to
It
school.
looks like this. I actually didn't give it to your man, I just gave it to you.
Okay.
He did this once before.
Yeah, it's a grant we applied for.
Okay.
And we've
That's
got
all.
money
Thank
in
you.
the past, we'll be doing it again.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief. Anything else? Okay. Mr. Anand, do you have anything for us this evening?
I have quite a bit of stuff, Mayor, but it's going to all be in executive session. So unless there are any questions on anything that's on the agenda that we've done, I'll save it all for later.
Okay, thank you. I just have one question. Yes.
Any movement on the COA?
That's one of the things we're going to talk about.
We need to talk about that? Okay,
Yes.
great, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Quick question for Mr. Anand. Sariella, you have anything this evening?
No, I did all my discussion.
Thank you. Any unfinished business for the council? Any new business? I have a few things. Just a reminder to the council and all the municipal authorities, which include all the boards and commissions, we are required to submit an annual financial disclosure statement of the state of New Jersey. It must be submitted by April 30th. Pastor Ron Stafford of the Liquid Church of Garwood has received an email from him to schedule a community development project in Garwood on July 16, 2016. They will be completing projects throughout Union County as part of their summer outreach program. I have sent an email to all department heads and committee chairpersons to submit articles for the spring and summer edition of the Garwood Gazette. I I ask that all council people reach out to their committee chairs to support this effort. The more the residents know about our community, the more active participation we'll have in the borough. In the past few weeks, I met with Mr. Kevin Kim, CEO of BSHM Group LLC, who will bring in key foods to Garwood in the building formerly occupied by Pathmark on South Avenue. The focus of the store will be a more nutritious variety of foods, including fish, meats, fruits, and vegetables. The project opening will be approximately mid-July. Once again, I apologize for moving the date of Mayor's Saturday due to conflicting schedules of the postponement of the baseball parade and the National Library Week celebration this month. Mayor's Saturday will be held on April 23rd at 11 a.m. at the Borough Chambers. Councilman Cerno will be joining me to talk to the residents as if they wish to stop by that day. That's all I have for this evening. We'll move on. Comments and matters for discussion from the members of council. Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. I would like to recommend to the mayor or said committee to have the ordinance 96-20 to be amended to provide relief for parking when there is 3 inches of snow or more on the road to homes that have no driveways. This is an extreme hardship for homeowners that have nowhere to park their car. Surrounding towns do not do it. I often found Garwood residents actually pulling into Westfield and Cranford to get away from that. So I'd like to recommend that here tonight so we can go to the proper committee.
Okay.
Also, I would like to recommend that the application for variances be simplified as specified in Chapter 106 of the Land Use and Zoning. This entire variance package is 41 pages. Residents need directions to read the instructions, and no one should have to be subjected to tears trying to understand the process and the paperwork that goes along with it. For extremely minor things, fences, driveways, little items such as this, 41 pages, maybe can be condensed down to 1. Also, it brings me to my final observation. We were notified this week that the Garwood zoning officer is now stating that he is not taking calls from residents and taxpayers concerning zoning issues, as he is much too busy. He has requested his phone number be removed from the Garwood site and is now requiring a form to be emailed to his new email address, and he will reply in this manner. The zoning officer is an employee of the town and paid by the taxpayers. I have a very simple retort for this request. If you are much too busy to put Garwood first, then maybe it is time to be relieved of that responsibility. We are elected by the people to put them first, not last, and to add another layer of paperwork to an already bloated application process is a travesty to say the least. Residents and taxpayers should not be reduced to tears to just try and understand the process and fill out the required paperwork. The ironic travesty is hiring an attorney to the tune of thousands of dollars to basically fill out the paperwork and fight for them in situations that they should have no problem doing it themselves. Everyone is not made of money, and a lot are living on fixed incomes. Is this the way we treat our neighbors and constituents? Also, there was some observations from the athletic field that there were branches down, and there was concern that they weren't being cleaned up in a timely manner. So I saw that today from another taxpayer, and I figured I would bring that forth tonight. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Martin?
Yeah, I just wanted to give some kudos to Captain Stilfer. Excuse me. I approached him last week with a problem in my business where I was having some difficulty with a fax machine. I was getting nuisance faxes. Verizon gave me the runaround. I couldn't get it solved because it was an old line. Captain Stilfer jumped on it. Within 3 days, he had the problem solved. So, thank you, Captain. I appreciate your help.
Is it like spam faxes?
Yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. I guess it
Anything
was a
else,
copper
Councilman?
line. It didn't-
Anything else?
That's it.
Councilman Matthews?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Sarno?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Let me have 2 things real quick. We have 4 new members to the First Aid Squad. I've also joined as well, and we're looking for volunteers. So if you know anyone that would be interested in joining the First Aid Squad, put them in contact with me. I can put them through the right routes. I mean, I know you asked me to kind of look into it, and our volunteer squad has a lot of pride, and I want to keep that going. And that building has a lot of history. It's built in 1939, and it was built by the people that founded this town, so it's really neat. I want to keep that tradition going. I also talked to Pastor Ron, and he's got a really great idea. He wants to deploy 300 people within town. I know he spoke to you, and he's spoken to me about it, and I think that'd be a great project. So any ideas you have for a community project in Garwood, please let me know and let the mayor know. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilwoman Tedesco?
Nothing tonight, Mayor?
Thank you. Council President Petroselli?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have is passed out an email a couple times in regards to making a donation towards Joanne Thorolson, and I didn't hear back from everybody. I just wanted to get, council's thought on us making that donation on behalf of the mayor and council. Is everybody okay with the amount that I had emailed to everybody?
Mhm.
I didn't hear back.
Yes.
Is everyone okay?
Yes.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, move on. Public comments. Is anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone, sign in, state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please step forward.
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo and gentlemen of the council. Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. Previously, you mentioned matching grants, and a couple of you actually did that.
You perked right up, I know.
I know, I perked right up. I said, aye.
And I thought you were so sick this week.
Well, that makes me sick, too, because matching grants are just wrong, especially, the sad part was when you asked, how many are matching grants, it was like nearly all of them. The sad part about matching grants is to get our own money back from another government entity, we actually have to raise taxes again just to match this money. This is wrong. I brought this up before that seriously you should think about some kind of a resolution that all towns should join in saying, will you please stop forcing us to match the grants? Because you sit there when you do the budget, of course you guys are crying about trying to balance the budget, and it's really a tough budget to try to keep taxes as low as possible. And yet there you have to sit down and say, oh, well, we're going to get a grant, we have to match the grant. And that is wrong. I mean, one time last year, I guess it was, you actually said, listen, we're going to have to forego a grant because matching it will cost the taxpayers more money. This is wrong. This is wrong matching grants. Yes, maybe on occasion there should be a required match type grant, but at this point, if you can maybe come up with a resolution, get all the other towns together and just, I guess, start with the county with their constant matching of grants and just tell them, stop it. If you want to give us money, give us the money. So, and I complained also down at the county, and Chairman Freeholder Bergen, he actually says, oh, but matching grants means you spend more money, you'll get more bang for the buck. Yeah, bang for the buck. I should hit him with a shoe or something like that.
Please explain yourself.
Okay, continue. Resolution, by the way. Keep that in mind. Another one is the RVSA. This started in January when we had the presentation, and I've talked about this a couple of meetings, and something is not right with the RVSA. I wrote a letter. I even passed out a graph one time in February. The last 5 years, and let me just read the last 5 years. This is what the RVSA cost, and I took this out of the budgets for the last 5 years. I'll just run down numbers. Minus $63,000. This is what they billed us, by the way. Minus $63,000, plus $59,000, plus $41,000, plus $82,000, plus $54,000. That's each year. This is what they were billing us. Yes, there's a negative number in there, but the last 4 years, consistently, large increases. We're a small town. These increases really impact us a lot. And again, goes back to the budget where you guys are crying and trying to balance the budget. That's $178,000 in 5 years over the original amount back then. That's a 40% increase. Now, I've written a letter. I've even stated that. I said, how, just common sense. Our flow is going down. That's what came out in the presentation. And yet, for 5 years, our billings have gone up 40%. That makes no sense. I mean, look around. What is Garwood? Has Garwood really changed? Not 40%, not 10% even. And also, you think about the other towns. They haven't really lost a lot of people. In fact, they probably stayed the same or increased. And yet, we're getting hit to the tune of 40%. Something is not right there. I asked back then if we could actually get a letter from them explaining specifically why our billings are going up, 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 and yet they claim our flow is going down. That makes no sense. Somehow I find out, I thought we were going to get a letter from them and we were going to put it on the website, but it didn't show up on the website, and then I find out that we really didn't even write a letter. I don't know whose committee it should be.
As I said to Mr. Patterson, I spoke to our representative and he brought forth to the Aurora Valley request, and that's how it went through.
We got no response, by the way.
Yes, it's on the agenda this evening, the response.
What is?
The response.
I actually over it. I got whatever responses there are. These responses from the RVSA are just regular like housekeeping responses. It's not talking about any in-depth reason why our flow goes down and yet our billings go up 40%. I mean, just think of it, common sense. Why would our billings go up 40%? Garwood hasn't changed any, our flow has gone down. They need to explain to us. They need to explain to us. Somehow we're not really doing our diligence. This has come up over the past many years about why it's increasing. Mr. Renaud came out with possibly the flow meters, some kind of, incremental errors or something like that. Yeah, but that doesn't explain from 40%. So, I mean, I do agree with what you're saying. I mean, I understand that. But 40%, no way, no way. I think this council should say something. 4 years, 5 years, 40% increase, no way should it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What can we say about that?
Well, we should have said it when they were here.
But I really didn't understand that. I mean, they talk in like a different language almost. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, we're talking about flushing. I mean, I never heard of so much money going up for the, if we have less flow, obviously it should be less money. I don't really understand the schematics of it. They really didn't do a really good job explaining it, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Saying no, we'll move on. Sorry?
Sorry. Rick McCormick, 101 4th Avenue. Question is, on 3rd Avenue, what part of 3rd Avenue are we talking
By
about?
the school.
And why is that get in favor of another street in town? Is there a reason for that?
Well,
I'm not beating up 3rd Avenue, but...
No, but we look at the streets throughout the town every year. This was looked at, I guess, actually we started this process about 4 years ago on 3rd Avenue. The street was in bad shape, there was a lot of water laying in the street. There was no drainage. So last year we put the drainage in, so it's just a continuation of the construction process. But we look at every street every year. People, like someone mentioned earlier, the one on the block of Spruce. But we basically look at the streets and see where we need to do the most work.
So is this project just to resurface at this point, or is it ripping up
No,
what's
it's
underneath it?
resurface. We don't have the money to resurface the road, to reconstruct the road. Road like that it costs about $100, 100 feet.
So if it's just a resurfacing, how does that happen to...
Well, it's not just resurfacing. We put in drainage, we're resurfacing
But
the road.
the major construction at that part is done, correct?
No, there's a little bit more drainage to go. All the curbs being replaced, the curbs all deteriorating.
And my next part of that question is, why are we talking about the sidewalks on that street? Are they that bad?
We're not. We only do sidewalks that we need to replace as a part of the process. We may make the road a little higher in the spot, the sidewalks lower, so we have to replace the sidewalk.
And does that crown stay the same?
The road will, basically, the ground of the road has to remain the same. Problem is, we have all kinds of driveways and leaders and gutters that tie into it, so you really can't raise the grade of the road any. And unless you rebuild the road, which is tear the center down, that's a total major reconstruction.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask that question, like, why 3rd and not another street?
Just another small point, that was the road that we replaced the 100-year-old gas pipe.
Right, yes, right, that is right.
Okay, then my next question is, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Bruce on giving the sewer stuff. And I say stuff because I'm not totally in on what's going on with this, but, so we have a flow issue and we're being increased with money. So I'm gonna jump 2 years ahead of time. Hope I don't get no daggers or you guys throw anything at me. What's gonna happen when we redevelop? When there's gonna be more flow? How will we be billed then?
According to the 3 criteria that they list right
But
now.
we didn't build yet, right? So how can we, are we stepping on something?
We're on a rolling average. They're constantly measuring the flow, both the flow, the BODs, and suspended solids. We get billed on all three. And we get monthly reports on what the usage is, And of course, if we build more, we're gonna have more flow. So there will be an increase for that flow.
Right, but I think his argument is we're doing less flow and we're getting increase. And that we're
I
gonna
can't
do-
answer that. I
Okay,
agree with him
okay.
on that, I don't understand that, but when we increase flow, we're gonna obviously pay more. 10, 15 years ago, the Mill and Industries shut down. Our flow went down substantially, and our flows went down, but they've come back up again.
So question for
Wow.
you, sorry to bore everybody, but for a question for you, is so when that flow increases, and that flow goes into the old sewer systems, whether they're 100 years old or whatever, what does that do for the borough as far as them just redeveloping that area and not going somewhere else down the line? So if they're redeveloping an area within, say, 400 feet, what happens to the part that's 500, or the 100 feet afterwards? How does that flow?
Part of what the planning board should be doing.
Am I making sense on that question?
Yes, part of what the planning board should be doing in their process of whether they're going to approve or disapprove any project is whether or not there's sewer capacity to handle that flow. We do have capacity in our sewers, but in a given area, if you were to continuously concentrate in that area, those pipes may at some point become inadequate. That's part of what the planning board should be requiring of applicants. When they come in with an application, they should have to show what they're going to add to the sewer, what the capacities are in the sewer, and that we can handle it.
Okay, thank you, that's all. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mayor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, should we continue on, council? Okay. All rise for a moment of silence and salute to the flag, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Gloria. Adequate notice of this meeting is provided to the Westfield Leader, the Union County local source, advertised on January 7, 2016. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public with time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231 PL 1975. Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Mayor Lamordo?
Here.
Councilman Kukrow?
Here.
Councilman Martin?
Here.
Councilman Matthew?
Here.
Councilman Sarno?
Here.
Councilman Disco?
Here.
And Council President Petrozelli.
Here.
Ms. Ariano, minutes, please.
Regular workshop minutes of the mayor and council held on March 22nd, 2016.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications, Ms. Ariano.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities Mayor's Advisory,
Receive and file.
New Jersey Department of Community Affairs Local Finance Board,
Receive and file.
Union County Board of Chosen Freeholders Resolution,
Receive and file.
Torrey Valley Sewage Authority, written report,
Receive and file.
Torrey Valley Sewage Authority approved minutes,
Receive and file.
Torrey Valley Sewage Authority meeting notice,
Receive and file.
Stephen Peel, 484 4th Avenue.
Receive,
Sorry. No.
receive and file.
Bruce Patterson, email communications to Mayor and Council regarding Torrey Valley Sewage Authority,
Receive and file.
Borough Historical Committee rededication ceremony,
Receive and file.
and Guard Planning Board minutes.
Receive and file. Thank you. Ordinance. Public hearing on ordinance 13-03 and 16-04 as advertised on March 24, 2016. Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 16-03 by title only.
Yes, Mayor, an ordinance to provide for a revised rate schedule for 2016 pursuant to 134-16 rate schedule in Article 5, industrial waste and fees, in Chapter 134 sewers of the Code of the Borough of Garwood for the industrial user charge provided for in 134-15.
Have you received any correspondence?
None, Mayor.
Does anyone present wish to be heard concerning ordinance 16-03? Mr. Patterson?
My standard question.
Yes.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes, okay, thank you very much. No, good evening, Mayor, Barr, ladies and gentlemen, the field, I mean, not the field.
That's another meeting.
Come on. No, what was the rate before, and what is the rate now? I see the rate now, but what was the rate before?
7% less than what's in the proposed ordinance.
7%? That's confusing. What was that?
In other words, the old ordinance was increased by 7%.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
As a second?
Second, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt 16-03.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 16-03.
I'll second it.
Discussion. And this time, roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthew.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilman Fidisko.
Aye.
Council President Petrozelli.
Aye. Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 16-04 by title only.
Mr. Mayor, calendar year 2016 ordinance to establish a cap bank, NJSA 48-4-45.14.
Do you have any correspondence concerning ordinance 16-04?
None, Mayor.
Does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on ordinance 16-04? Patterson?
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Bruce Patterson, 325 Will Avenue. The cap bank. I've talked about this every year. And it was back, Jim and Lou might have been on council. But I remember Keith Sluka was on council, and I think Vic was on council. I forgot who else was on council. Had to be 2010 maybe. But the cap bank was actually voted no. And it was a voted no twice in a row. And I know it's a 3-year rolling average of accumulating of these artificial dollars that actually allows the mayor and council to increase taxes over and above what the cap normally is. Now, I mean, you know, you don't really have to explain what the cap monies are about. If you want, you can for the public. But one thing is, we have a cap. We're supposed to maintain a cap. We are maintaining the cap, but there are monies below the cap that go into this artificial fund, let's call it. And what that does, of course, like I mentioned, is artificially allow us to actually increase taxes over and above the cap. Again, the reason why the cap was there is to keep the cap on our taxes, and basically Garwood's doing a good job. However, you have money in the contingency. If there is an emergency, that money can cover the contingency. So to tell you the truth, there is no reason to allow monies to go into the cap bank. And much like a couple of years ago where you voted no on allowing the cap bank, I think you should start it again to show you guys are fiscally solid, that you're really looking out for the taxpayers, and that you do not want to just artificially increase taxes by this allowance of cap bank money. So I'm asking the mayor and council to please vote no on this, much like a couple of years ago. I was very proud of that council doing that 2 years in a row. I'd like you to start it again. Just one thing, the county, just to show you, the county, their budgets get out of control, and it's like every other year they start dipping into these cap bank monies to the tune of $2 million, just so they can increase taxes on us residents. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 16-03?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 16-03?
16-04.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to to adopt ordinance 16-04, Mayor.
Do I have a second? Discussion?
Mayor?
Yes?
Bruce pretty much beat me to the punch. It's pretty, it's pretty even keeled, self-explanatory. I just believe reminds me of the federal government. There's all kinds of loopholes and all kinds of ways to get around this. And all it really is to allow the towns to increase it more than what they're allowed to do. And we know that certain things can't be allocated into this. So as far as I'm concerned, establishing this type of cap bank just gives us license to spend more money of the taxpayers, and I'm totally not in favor for it. But like I said, Bruce explained it beautifully. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Patterson. So.
Okay. Anyone else at this time?
Mayor, just one comment. I think the word that Mr. Patterson used so nicely was the word artificial, because I find the cap bank to be very artificial and seemingly archaic. Unfortunately, it's a state system, it's a wacky system. Even when the auditors explain it, it doesn't make 100% sense, since money is actually physically not going anywhere. It's not being spent, it's not being moved to a certain place, or anything like that. And I was actually on the council when the cap bank was voted down 2 years in a row. And then that actually got us in a situation in 2014 where, go figure, we were looking at the lowest tax increase in about 12 years, at $39 a home. And if we did not pass the cap bank that year, which we did as a council, then we would have not been able to pass that year's budget. So it's really kind of wacky that you could come in with a low tax increase like $39, and by not passing this ordinance, put yourself in a real bind and forcing yourself to cut even more, which could jeopardize the services to the residents and so forth. So I do agree that it's a completely wacky system. I don't like the system. I think it needs to be fought higher up than us, but basically that word artificial is really good for it, because that's what it is. However, given the dialogue by the auditors in the past about the cap bank, the fact of the matter is, it's sometimes you work within the system unless you change that system higher up, which at this point would be the state level. So the auditors were here, they were available to answer questions on this, and basically based on their professional assessment of it and their experience, I mean, no other towns that they've worked with have actually voted down a cap bank. But basically, I don't love the system by any stretch of the imagination, but I will vote for it.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to add one more thing here. I mean, it doesn't help with fiscal responsibility. You could call it cutting services. I'll just disagree and say it's fiscal responsibility. If you're underneath the 3.5% spending cap, which is what this is, by $100,000, that means you can spend $100,000 next year. That's essentially what it means. So for me, I can't support something like that until we get fiscally responsible. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Ariema.
Councilman Kukrow.
No.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Matthews.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
No.
Councilman Tedisco.
Yes.
Councilman Petrozelli.
Yes.
You gotta break that one, Mayor.
Yes.
Ordinance passed.
Okay. Ms. Ariema, please read ordinance 16-05 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance to establish a restricted parking zone pursuant to NJSA 39 in front of 505 Center Street in the borough of Garwood.
Roll call, please.
I need a motion to introduce first, please.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 16-05.
Do you have a second? Roll call, please, Ms. Ariema.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco.
Aye.
And Council President Petrozelli.
Aye.
Ms. Ariema, please read ordinance 16-06 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance to establish a restricted parking zone pursuant to NJSA 39 in front of 207 Spruce Avenue in the borough of Garwood.
Do you have a motion for this ordinance, please?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 16-06, Mayor.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Ms. Ariema.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Petrozelli.
Aye.
Ms. Ariema, please read ordinance 16-07 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance to establish a restricted parking zone pursuant to NJSA 39 in front of 547 3rd Avenue in the borough of Garwood.
Do you have a motion adopting ordinance 16-07?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 16-07, Mayor.
I'll second.
Ms. Ariema, roll call.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco.
Aye.
And Council President Petrozelli.
Aye.
That's it.
We will move on to council standing committees, reports, and other reports. Police, Councilman Sarno.
Thank you, Mayor. In recent years, the police department has seen an increase in the various types of fraud reports which have occurred in a wide variety of formats. Many scams have become elaborate and spread to the internet, where millions become unknowing victims. Indeed, popular websites such as Amazon, eBay, and Craigslist have become breeding grounds for deception. While the police department takes a proactive approach in keeping the public advised of these scams, many still fall prey to these creative individuals. Seeing a need to better assist the public, Captain Stouffer began to look into how to combat the robberies, thefts, and scams that all too often occur with online purchases. One answer is to encourage people who buy and sell over the internet to conduct these transactions in a safer area than their homes. Captain Stouffer has developed such safe zones right here at police headquarters where individuals can quote-unquote meet up and feel comfortable making these exchanges. Transactions can be done 24/7 in view of police personnel and while being captured by surveillance video, both after hours in the parking lot or during business hours in the front hallway. According to Captain Stouffer's research, approximately 100 police agencies across the U.S. have started programs such as this, and the feedback has been tremendous. We believe this exchange zone will be a great way to protect our community and residents from those who might wish to take advantage of others. For further details, residents can go to the police department at www.garwoodpd.org. Chief Underhill would like to thank Captain Stouffer for his efforts in getting this program off the ground. That's all for my report. I think it's a great idea, and I love the fact that he's done it. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Any comments on the report from our police commissioner? I'd just like to say thank you, Captain, and also the chief for assisting. Thank you very much. It is a big situation to look into. Okay, we'll move on to public health. Councilwoman Kukrow.
No report this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Streets and Roads Ecology Council President, Rick Pizarro.
Thank you, Mayor. The Department of Public Works completed the following from March 23rd to April 12th. Perform residential household waste pickup twice weekly on north and south side of the borough. Perform weekly residential grass and grass bulk pickup every Wednesday, which began on April 6th. We fueled all vehicles and equipment at Union County Public Works Complex in Scotch Plains as needed throughout the week. Provided residential white good appliance pickup at various times weekly throughout the borough. Checked and treated reoccurring problems in sewer lines for routes on a weekly basis. Perform maintenance on miscellaneous public works vehicles and equipment as needed. Removed miscellaneous roadside debris along North and South Avenues. And cleaned up litter and debris throughout the grounds of the sports and recreation complex. Other miscellaneous activities continued to clearing debris from the tops of all storm water drains and inlets on North and South Avenue, North and South side of the borough. Pick up all debris and litter from both sides of the underpass, on sidewalks, on Center Street and Kennedy Plaza. Cut up and remove broken branches in various locations of the borough. Began to prune shade tree and miscellaneous locations of the borough. Completed major pothole repairs along the following areas: the 400 block of Willow, the 300 block of Beach, and the corner of Rankin and Beach Avenue. A total of 2 tons of hot mix asphalt was used for these repairs. We also cleaned up the entire sports and recreation complex, included the wooded area, and cut the Little League grass in preparation for opening day. Removed piles of grass and dirt from the parking lot. Performed street sweeping operations in the following areas: Sports Complex parking lot, Center Street from North to South Avenue and within the business district up to Willow Avenue, and sections of North Avenue as well. Continued to install residential permit parking signs in various areas of the borough. Replaced all existing sign poles prior to installing signs to conform with the 7-foot minimum height requirement. Also flooded Hartman Park courts for the annual fishing derby. Performed spring landscape cleanup and installed basketball nets at Hartman Park. Performed spring landscape cleanup at Georgiana Memorial and at the borough lot at the end of Center Street. Removed leaves and debris from the end of the 4th Avenue and the cul-de-sac of 4th Avenue, and began to perform preventative maintenance on all department landscape equipment. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments on the report?
I do. Do we have an estimated time of completion for the signs for the permits? I get at least 10 people asking almost every day.
I can get an estimated time of completion, but again, with the winter the way that it was, they were a little held off, so, that was kind of put on their lap late November or early November, so they just couldn't get to it, so now they started the process. They've been doing it for, quite a few weeks now, so.
Do we know like what streets they've completed already and which ones they're working towards? Do we have like a schedule of
I
that?
don't have that, but I can give you.
That'd be great. That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
I know I see them up on my end of Third.
They
And
went
are
to
they
you
on?
first? No, they're not on mine.
Oh, well, they'll get
I'd be out there
there.
with
I'm
the
very
camera.
confident they'll get there.
Okay.
And also Oak Street, because I noticed the commuter parking patterns have changed because of that. They all shifted a block down, so.
From north to Second, correct?
Right,
Yeah, that was
right,
a
so-
disaster, so they're gonna
Right.
keep moving further in until,
Pretty much, well, it's that uphill battle we face when, especially people are willing to walk 10-plus city blocks when they get to their destination, what's walking a little bit of Garwood, you know? But I do have one comment about the signs as well. I did notice that the signs for alternate side of the street parking on my one block of Third were removed. So to be consistent with that ordinance, that was repealed, which I think was very good.
Slowly, we will corral them into the.
I'm waiting with my camera, my video camera, it's all set to go. And trust me, I'm ready.
Very good. Okay, we'll continue on. Fire, Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. We have the fire activities report for the month of March. There was 21 incidents, 2 alarm activations, 2 fires, 2 medical assists, 1 assist for the police department, 1 ruptured gas line, 1 smoke condition, 1 spill at the brook, 1 motor vehicle associated with motor vehicle, transformer fire, debris in the electric lines, leaking fire hydrant. Also provided 5 mutual aid to Hillside and Linden, Rawway, Mountainside, and Elizabeth. Total man hours 179, all alarms. Meeting 22 men, 33 hours. Drill time 17 men, 34 hours. Recent fire critique, pre-planned target buildings using Google Maps, Earth, command board usage, review in-house paging system, evac tones. Extra duty 22 members at Wake for Joanne. Refreshments at headquarters following. That's all for my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on the fire report? Hearing none. Finance, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No official report, but the public hearing on the budget is at our next regular council meeting, so I
Thank you.
encourage the public to attend.
Buildings and Grounds, Councilman Matthews.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Laws and License, Councilman Martin. Recreation, Councilman Martin. Garwood Senior Citizens Liaison.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, it was a very short meeting. There was supposed to be a presenter speaking about diabetes. He did not show up, so everybody was a little bit disconcerted for that. Reminders were made about the senior picnic on June 23rd from 11 to 3. You can RSVP for Paulette for that. There's also going to be Senior Citizen Council of Union County remaining independent, May 17th, 9 to 11:45 at the Westwood, and also April 21st, Borough Hall, 9 to 12, for stroke screening. I can have all the information in case anybody wants to call and register. We had Italian-style sloppy joes and delicious cinnamon buns, and that was the end of my good meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any comments on the senior report? Seeing none. Library's Mayor's Representative, Council President Petrozelli.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 7th at 7 p.m., more than 30 people came out to enjoy Destination Las Vegas, a musical journey starring Francis Evans and Joel Zelnick, the husband and wife team who paid homage to legendary headliners of Las Vegas, including Bobby Darin, Judy Garland, Elvis Presley, Barry Manilow, Frank Sinatra, and more. Everybody had fun. This week is Amnesty Week at the library. During this week, there will be no fines collected for any overdue items returned during this week, no matter how long the items have been overdue. As of Monday, April 11th at 2 p.m., the library already waived over $80 in fines. On April 16th at 11 a.m., the library will host a reception in honor of the National Library Month with light refreshments. All borough residents are invited to stop in and see what the library has to offer. On April 21st at 7 p.m., Leona Seifert, a local resident, published poet, will kick off the evening reading some of her poetry and discussing how poetry can uplift your life. Attendees will have an opportunity to read a poem, their own or one of their favorites. And as always, the library has many other ongoing programs, including the Knitting Club, Mondays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m., book clubs, adult ed, Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon, ESL, Tuesdays at 2 p.m., parent-child knitting, Wednesday at 6 p.m., toddler story time, Wednesdays at 10:30, Friday morning movies, Fridays at 10 a.m., Lego Club, 2 Thursdays a month at 3 p.m. The Gar Library is open Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Fridays from 9 a.m. to 4:30, and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments on the library report? Move on. School Board Liaison, Councilman Sarno.
Yeah, no official report tonight. Next meeting is April 19th at 7:30, and the EFG dinner will be the same week on April 21st.
6 to 9 p.m.
That's all. Thanks.
Any comments? Councilwoman?
6 to 9 p.m.
Thank you.
Great event.
Okay, moving on. Celebration of public events and holidays. Liaison, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilman Matthews.
No report, Mayor. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the last meeting. I was out of town. When I get some information on what occurred there, I'll deliver it to the council.
Thank you. Administrative Review Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Historical Committee,
Yes, report.
Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
The Historical Committee is busy preparing for the rededication of the Recreation Complex on June 12th, which will be in the afternoon, taking place from 2 to 5 p.m. In fact, the committee was down at the complex a few weeks ago, mapping out where the past as well as new plaques will go. Also, the committee is continuing to work with the Hartman family on getting a new sign for that park, which the family has so generously offered to donate. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments on the Historical Committee report? Hearing none. Officers report. Ms. Ariema?
Lenny DiStefano, zoning code enforcement officer, monthly report and addendum for March 2015. Glenn Steiner, fire chief, monthly report for February and March 2015. Sandy Brun, CFO, tax collector, monthly report for March 2016.
Do I have a motion to accept the officers report as presented?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone. State your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Now, let me go first. All right. Rich McCarty, 101 4th Avenue. Would I be wrong to ask the board here what is Cat Bank? What is that? Do you have time to tell us what that is?
I mean, the short of it, it's a very, like I said,
Exactly
complicated,
what I'm asking.
archaic process. But basically, the state has multiple caps. So when you hear that there's a 2% cap, people often wonder, why they don't really realize that there's actually multiple caps out there. But basically,
The word I'm looking
sorry.
for is what is cap? What
What is cap?
Above what?
Like the number?
What are we having cap? If it's a budget, what is the cap for? That's my question. What is
Right.
that?
Well, we satisfy the cap by the state, but then you can have this cap bank so that in the future, I guess, you can have, if situations occur like the one I gave in 2014, you are able to pass your budget, basically. I mean, it's
So I don't think you're answering my question.
it's like a,
Can I answer the question? This particular cap was, and I'm only aware of 2 caps that New Jersey has. The one that came in with Governor Christie was a taxation cap of 2% on most taxing. This is a spending cap. It goes back to the 70s. And basically, the short answer to your question is, it's a 3.5% spending cap over the last year's spending.
So when you propose a budget and you adopt a budget, at some point you have 3.5% to go above that without telling the public? Is that what I'm taking this on?
You could go and do it without a referendum, and basically what happens is if you don't spend up to that 3.5%, there's a process by which you can bank. Let's say you spend 2% over last year. You can bank that 1.5% that you did not spend. That gets added to next year, all right? So 3.5 plus 1.5, you could spend roughly 5% next year, again, without going to a referendum.
So when you go into a cap, I'm sorry again to bore everybody, but when you go into a cap, does that go against the budget for the next year? So if it was X amount of dollars this year, you use the cap, do we have to meet that? Do we add that on top of that budget and the year prior, we do that?
No.
Is that,
No. Every budget is, you're looking at that individual budget that year. You don't have to do anything because of passing the cap bank in the previous year. And that idea of banking the money is, I think, where the real confusion comes in, because you're not physically putting money anywhere. You're not actually spending more than what's presented in the budget. When we present a budget, like the one that's being presented at the next council meeting, we've come in at $93 at home. So we've come in at that amount, that's it.
so when you come out at $93 at home and then there's a cap of 3.5 and you use that cap, it's still $93?
Right.
That's kind of my question.
Right. The answer is yes.
So where's that money come from?
Well, to get the 93, it's from the taxpayers, but we're not like going into this cap bank, taking money out. It's not physical money stashed away someplace.
Okay, so maybe I'm making my question more
Sorry.
complicated than
I
it's
can
supposed to
make it
be.
easy for you. Basically, I like to say that it's like raising the debt limit, but all it is another loophole to get it beyond the 2% cap. So, huh?
3.5%.
Right, it's right, yes, 3.5%. So this will make it 1.5% above the 2% that Christie basically leveled on the towns. So to me, that's just, that money can be spent down the line, and basically, it's all coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. So that all it really does is give them permission to really raise the cap to the 3.5% when we're at 2% now, and that's why I was totally against it.
Okay, thank you for
That
that.
makes it simple.
And another question I have is baseball season. So I'm down at the athletic field, and again, it's beautiful. But I noticed that there's a Little League game going on, and again, I'm green to it. But on the soccer side, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So I don't know if the Little League is every night, but the soccer, it seems to be, is every night. So with that said, there's lights on, there's maintenance on that. My question is, are we sustaining what we're paying for electric and for the maintenance of it with the rentals? It's like a business, so are we maintaining that cost?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's it, thank you.
And just so you know, Rich, there's a 25-year warranty on the lighting, and that's monitored through Moscow.
But it's not gonna come back to the taxpayer that we use this amount of lights and, okay, thanks.
We're paying our bills.
Thanks.
We'll go back to the cap bank here for a minute. Ann Tarantino, 520 Beach Avenue. Sarah, let me help you out here
Sure.
with the explanation for a minute. The cap bank, the way that it was explained to me. So we collect tax money in the beginning of the year, and we also have to pay our bills. So the cap bank is money that in case we don't have enough taxes, they'll be collected to pay the bills that we need to pay, right?
I don't know if I would describe it that way.
So when we collect taxes from the taxpayer quarterly, on a quarterly basis, if we don't have enough money for it to pay payroll and
I
bills that
think
we
what you're
have to
thinking
pay.
of is fund balance. Fund balance is physical money that helps us float paying our bills when we don't get all that state aid in right away, and we don't get all our taxes in right away. They come in
The cap
quarterly.
bank?
No,
Cap
it's
bank is
separate.
not the one where
Separate.
you spend
I
more
think,
than the
like I said, you're thinking of fund balance there.
It's an accounting term.
Yes.
It's an allowance to go
Okay.
over the cap number in a future year. That's essentially what it is.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. no.
I was thinking the
Fund-
wrong term.
All these fancy terms, fund
Okay.
balance, cap bank.
To
I
confuse
thought that was
everybody,
the cap
just call it a different name, same thing, different names. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo, ladies and gentlemen, Council Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. And Cap Bank, again, we're all for it, and we keep voting for it. You know, nobody understands it, but we're all for it. If somebody could explain on the consent agenda, resolution number 16183, and then also 16186, which actually is dear to my heart because it's talking about the historical committee, which I'm the president of. And just to segue into talking about the dedication that's coming up on June 12th, which Councilwoman Tedesco mentioned about dedication of the plaques at the rec complex. We wrote a letter, and it's on here under correspondence. The Historical Committee wrote a letter to the council asking if you would like to donate cookies, cupcakes, finger sandwiches, anything for the dedication, because the Historical Committee is strapped for cash. Councilwoman Tedesco actually graciously offered to get a cake from Costco, which is great. So anybody else, please either talk to me, talk to Carol Lombardo, or you can go on to the email system, and we have an email, gwdedication@aol.com. That's gwdedication@aol.com. Out of town ball collection. No, and also for the public also, if you'd like to donate cookies and such, we graciously accept that. And the dedication is 2 months away right now, and we're chasing down approximately 84 to 90 names that are on the plaques. And there's actually, surprisingly, there are people still alive that built the complex back then. A couple of them, not a lot, but there's a couple of them out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on. Consent agenda.
Mr. Patterson, were you looking for an answer about 186 about the historical committee, or?
Yeah, and 183, just want to, could you gloss over what those two are about?
Well, 186, since it's historical, this is basically how we're able to have that account where money is dedicated. We collect donations to the historical committee, and then we are able to spend out of that. It's like a trust account. 183, maybe we asked about as well, but
183, I guess, is me.
I knew it wasn't me.
Let's see, I'll try to give you a simple answer, which is that we meaning the borough, belongs with about 280 other municipalities to what is called a consortium of municipalities who have jointly hired experts in statistical analysis for affordable housing purposes to prepare and defend reports and act as expert witnesses in potential expert witnesses, really, if it's necessary for us, meaning the borough, to litigate the affordable housing case that we have. It's very complicated, would be very complicated for me to try to explain what the affordable housing case is and how we would go about litigating it, but in order to keep the borough's options open so as not to be at the mercy of either developers or the Fair Share Housing Center or the New Jersey Builders Association, it's necessary that we keep the option to have potential expert witnesses available. Because of the fact that we have a large number of municipalities, we're able to get this statistical analysis, which cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, access to it for the initial $2,000, and now we're out of money. We, meaning the consortium, is out of money. So the borough is being asked to appropriate an additional $2,000 along with the other 280 or so municipalities. So that's what it's about. Thank you very much.
Okay. We'll move on. Have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Have a second? Roll call, please, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Morton.
Yes.
Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilman Tedesco.
Aye.
And Council President Becker.
Aye.
Any new business does the council have for this evening?
Mayor, are you going to announce this?
No.
Okay. Do you want me to say something, or do you want to?
No, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Council President?
The Ladies Auxiliary of the Carver Fire Department is going to have an event for Friends of Joanne. It's a fundraiser and a memorial service on Thursday, May 26th, from 6 to 11 at the Westwood. Tickets are $35 per, which includes food, beer, wine, and soda. And there'll be a DJ by Mirage Entertainment.
I just picked up the flyer the other day at Borough Hall, I think. Are they in the hallway too, Ms. Ariema, or just in Borough Hall itself?
There might be one hanging up, they're on the counter and.
Okay, so they're in the
out on
counter.
Marquee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have some proclamations this evening. Earth Day, April 22nd, 2016. Arbor Day, April 29th, 2016. Preclampsia Month, May 2016. Payment of claims, Ms. Ariana.
Be resolved, the following claims as approved be in the same regular orders paid and properly signed and verified. The payment of payroll as listed hereby confirmed in the article.
Do you have a motion to adopt payment of claims?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Pivoy.
Yes.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Sorno.
Aye.
Councilman Tedesco.
Aye.
And Council President.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Executive session?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Ariana, please read the motion for executive session.
Yes, Mayor. Closed session resolution authorizing an executive session for the purpose of discussing litigation of tax appeals relating to ACP partnership versus Borough and the Mount Laurel doctrine set forth in the matter of adoption of NJAC by the New Jersey Council on Affordable Housing and matters of attorney-client privilege relating to resolving in accordance with NJSA 10-4 closed session meetings open to the public and speaking of public subject of matter. Whereas it is necessary for the mayor and council of Borough to conduct an executive session closed to the public in order to discuss the above listed matters. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of Borough hereby move to go into executive session in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing the subject stated above, and be it further resolved that the matters discussed in and the minutes of the closed session shall be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality no longer exists.
Roll call, please.
It doesn't need a motion in a second.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Councilman Pivoy.
Yes.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Sorno.
Aye.
Councilman Tedesco.
Aye.
Council President Petrozelli.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm not expecting any formal action after this executive session for
Thank you.
those who may be concerned.